Boom. Right. We're recording across the board. Peeps, what is the beef? Cam here. And welcome to the Chef Fit Show. And on today's episode, got a very fluorescent man on the show. Daniel Puddle, one of the guys who has been with us since January. And Dan has gotten some pretty insane results. And he stepped in, he's done a huge amount of work in the past while. And what I want to do here is bring Dan on and really just dive into his story and why we were able to do what we did in the past couple of months, you know. So Daniel, thanks for jumping on, bro. Just give us a bit of background on yourself, dude. Like, how long have you been a chef, and what was the process for you stepping towards doing something like Chef Fit?
Okay, so I've been a chef for 15 years. Ever since I left school, I've always been in the industry. And then so I've always worked around different places, etc. And then just before, so if I go back a year before I started Chef Fit, so go back to last January, I just took over a restaurant. It had some good accolades and stuff like that. It's first proper head chef position. So I mean, from January till November, I was there, and I mean, I just sort of fell straight into that rut of a chef lifestyle. Drinking, I don't know, getting through the day on double espressos, 8 to 10 a day, not eating. If I did eat, it would just be, bread rolls and shite like that. And then, at the end of every evening, I'd start drinking. I never thought I had a problem. I'd only, 3 or 4 beers during, if I had work the next day. And then if I got a day off, I'd go out the night before and just, let a load of steam off, etc. And I probably did that for about 10 months, and I just sort of felt like that was it now. That was going to be my life. I was chasing more stuff at work. We were just trying to push and push and push, and I thought this was me. But yeah, I guess for the very first time in my life, I then sort of suffered. I sort of had anxiety. And I've never had it before, and there's a stigma with it. I've always told people just to man up, everything's fine, So then when it sort of happens to myself and I sort of step back a bit, I thought, I had to do something about it. And then that's where I sort of started watching your videos. And then I'll never forget, because everything that I'd sort of felt, I'd always kept to myself. And then I spoke to you on the phone, and that was the first time, like, it felt like a weight had been lifted, because for the first time I was telling somebody how I felt, and I got off the phone and I almost wanted to break down in tears, because it just felt good to get that off my chest. It was crazy, really. And then that's how my Chef Fit journey began.
Big time, man. What was it about? This is an interesting conversation. Like, what is it about and I'm interested to know, what is it about the life of a chef that leads you to this state of mind? What do you feel for you was the thing that just got you to the point where it's like, man, I'm on, a nice edge here. I'm on the brink. Like, what do you think causes that to happen?
I think we build up pressure in our heads of, the food that we're sort of trying to produce. And that sort of pressure, then you don't ever, when you get given something, you then don't want to lose it. So it's easy to get something that you've never been given because you're just pushing. But once you've got it, and then it's a defense game and you don't want to lose it, every time you're creating a new dish, etc., you're thinking, is this good enough? And that's then, I guess, where the anxiety comes from, because you've then got this pressure that puts you on the edge. You don't ever want to produce anything that's just mediocre anymore. You want to keep pushing yourself and making sure if the right person comes in, they enjoy it as well.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something interesting there, where you were saying about, it was something that you hadn't experienced necessarily up to that point, and the attitude had been just kind of take it on the chin and deal with it, and whatever. A very common thing for chefs to have that mentality, and a very common thing for chefs to think about. So for you going through that, like, how common is this with chefs? How common is this in the industry, do you think?
I'd say it was massive, really. There's never, I don't know, I guess because it's, a male sort of industry in the kitchen. No one wants to look like the weak person.
Yeah.
And especially when you go and work in the brigades, you know, where there's 10 plus chefs. You don't want to be that person. You know, it's different if you go in a little team of 4 or whatever, and you become a close little family, and you can sort of share them problems. But I guess, you know, you don't want to look weak. You want to be alpha. You know, it's just a lot of them is just dog eat dog in a big, you know, in a big kitchen, and you don't want to look, you know, as I say, you don't want to look weak. You know, you want to be the strong one. You know, just put up a front, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that is the case where you almost develop this armor, like an exterior to deal with it. You know what I mean? You don't ever want to give away a chink in your armor, let's say. And that kind of leads us to the point of, you know, maybe being on the brink and not even being able to express it. So Daniel, for you, man, we first spoke, we had a fairly heavy conversation, but it was a good conversation, and we would start it. So that was after Christmas. Now, where were you physically at that point? So mentally, obviously, you know, a lot of pressure had been applied, mentally feeling some anxiety creeping in. Where were you physically at the same time?
I mean, I wasn't exercising at all. I did no exercise. I was constantly, you know, I was just fat. I mean, I was a big old boy. I think I was 80 before I joined Chef Fit. I think I was about 86 kilos, and then that was in December. Yeah. And then before I knew I wanted to join Chef Fit, I started just to, you know, do a little bit and stop. You know, I stopped the drinking, so that sort of cut the weight.
Yeah.
So when I started Chef Fit, I'd already lost 4 kilos. But you know, it got to the point where you bend down to tie your shoelace up, and you'd have to take a breath because, you know, it just cuts off.
That pain, bro. And so we started off implementing things as we went, got into the training program, we got you eating again, we got you doing all of these things. What was the end result? Like, where are we at now versus day one?
So now I'm 10 kilos down, and I'm 9% body fat down as well.
Mad. Absolutely. Yeah. And outside of, so obviously physically that was an incredible change, and for you in terms of your lifestyle and in terms of your mental state, what's different now, Dan?
I guess mentally now I'm all right now. You know, I feel that every day that I exercise, and I try and do it every morning before I start my day, so it doesn't really matter what happens. I'm already in a better frame of mind, which is nice, you know. And then I guess the better thing now is I don't feel so sluggish. I can bend down and do my shoes, and it doesn't hurt. You know, I'm pain free now, which is good because I do the stretching. Like I do like a little mobility thing every morning, 5 minutes.
Nice.
You know, that sort of helps with the back pain and stuff. You know, that is pretty much non-existent now. So yeah, I'm 100% better, really.
Savage. That's really, really good to hear, man. And so we're looking at, so we've lost 9% body fat, we're down 10 kilos, a lot of the stiffness is gone, and now we've got this tool for managing our mental state, so we have a good perspective on a daily basis. Why do you think that happened? Like, what was the thing over the last 3 or 4 months, or what were some of the things that you felt led you to make that kind of improvement versus maybe trying stuff out before? Because you had gym experience before, like.
I think really it was being part of the group and holding yourself accountable. That was a massive thing for me, because I could go and lose, I don't know, 4 or 5 kilos, but then I would go and put it straight back on as well. And then I think, you know, I guess taking the pictures every day of the food I did it for the first 6 weeks, you know, religiously every day. And then that gave me a good indication of what I needed to be eating. 1, to lose weight, and 2, you know, the more I was doing it, the more I would start to miss things if I didn't have it, like veg and fruit. You know, now I go crazy if I don't have it for a day or so. I'm like, I could murder a fucking bowl of spinach or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and they're sort of the healthy habits that I've now sort of gained. Yeah.
And I think that is the difference, because it's I always talk about this, but it's about setting a new normal for yourself. And I think unless you change what's normal for you, it's never going to be sustainable. So as you said there, like 4 or 5 kilos is just numbers on a scales, you know, but it's like, what is the operating system that leads you to lose that, you know, because if you can change the system, all of a sudden everything becomes a permanent, as opposed to, you know, just to give it a shot and see what happens. And going forward then, like, how has your perspective changed as a chef since starting Chef Fit, Dan?
I guess now, I don't know. I try and have a bit more of a healthier approach. You know, I don't need to use cream and butter into absolutely everything.
Yeah.
That's probably, you know, one of the bigger things that I try to take away from it now. And I try and, I guess, I left where I was. So all the pushing for accolades and all of that now is sort of done for me. I guess for me as a chef now, I'm not over being a chef. You know, I'll always be a chef, but whether or not I'm in the process of finding a new job.
Yeah.
You know, something that gives me a bit of a better balance of life. Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you. So, and what I can imagine has happened. So obviously a lot of chefs can dwell in the pressure pot. You know what I mean? Where it's a case of you're chasing recognition, you're chasing accolades, and you're chasing a higher level. Since you've started something like this and you've made this massive change in yourself, I'm sure you have gotten bursts of like, this is what it feels like when you have a bit of balance. This is what it feels like when you feel good. So my question is then, if it's not a case of the career, it's like, how has your perspective shifted as a person? Like, how do you view your life knowing that you've made that change yourself?
I guess. I guess now knowing now what I knew, what I wish I'd known this. I guess a year ago when I was pushing, because I could still do all the things, and I'd probably have a better look on stuff if I wasn't. I'm just off my face on caffeine or, you know, hungover in the morning. I mean, just having that bit of a balance in your life, because you know, I guess no one here. I think there's one lad who's training to become a personal trainer, but you know, none of us are here to be an athlete. It's just, you know, to be a bit better. And I guess now, you know, mentally, I feel a lot better. Physically, I feel like I can carry on doing the job for another 10 years if I carry on doing the exercise and eating well, if not 20 years. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it's a bigger improvement. It's just all round, really. It's, you know, exercising makes you better as a person. You know.
Yeah, massively, massively. And with that in mind, then Daniel, like for any chefs that let's give you the situation that somebody has been looking at, whether it's the videos, the group, whatever, for a long time, they know they're in a position where, you know, they're not in a good place. They know they need to change. They know they need to do something, but they're still on the fence about joining the group or joining us. What would your advice be to a chef in that position?
Oh, just do it. You know, if you're thinking about joining, just join. You know, try it for the month. As I said earlier, you know, ringing you and speaking to you, a whole weight was lifted off my shoulders. You know, so if that doesn't then make you want to join the group after, you know, telling somebody how you feel, if you know, I never sort of told anybody before what was going on in my life. You know, that was the big decision for me. So, you know, anybody who is on the fence, just go for it. You won't regret it.
Boom. There we go. Yeah, 100%. And guys, take anyone watching this, take example from what Dan has told you. Okay, like it doesn't matter what position you're coming into this with, you know what I mean, or what perspective you have, or how much pressure you're under, or how much of a dark place that you're in. Understand that making a lifestyle change, understand that implementing a new routine and deliberately changing your habits and deliberately changing how you live your life will only lead to you being a better person. You know what I mean? It will only lead to you being happier, and it will only lead to you actually enjoying things, you know? So you've got to ask yourself, the only thing that you've got to lose is you've got nothing to lose, you know? And that's how I say that flat out. You know, you don't have anything to lose. If you fail at doing something, you just go back to what you were doing before. It's not as if you've lost anything drastic. You know, the only thing that's required and the only thing that separates maybe what Dan has done and maybe what some people have failed to do is commitment and work. You know, apply the same mindset you have as a chef that made you push yourself and do those kinds of hours under those kind of conditions. And if you can apply that to bettering yourself and exercising and watching what you're eating and implementing it into your lifestyle, like, you will make it happen. And that's all that's required. So with that in mind, that is Daniel Puddle, and take inspiration from what he's done, you know, and contact me if you want to get involved, if you want to be part of this tribe and you really, really do want to make that change. So peeps, that is the Chef Fit Show. I am going to bid you all adieu. Dan, thanks a million, man.
That's all right, buddy. Thank you.
Boom.